Sports fans, what's going on? Welcome to Field Vision. This is the show where War Room Sports and the Sports King come together like Voltron and talk about the NFL. I'm your host. My name is Jimmy, at JW The Blueprint, lover of wine, women, food, hardcore hip-hop. Around the round table, I got my brother Dev. What's up?
What's going on, good people out there?
And we have the man, the myth, the legend, Frank from SportsKings.com.
Not only did I beat Justin in fantasy last week, but I beat him because he started that Broncos defense. And he's a Raider fan. That's got to hurt.
I started the Broncos defense too, but my other components on my team did work. So
I don't even want to talk fantasy football because I hate it, yo. And never mind. It ruins the game for me, yo. Anyway, with that being said, man, it was an interesting week of football. There are a lot of stories to talk about, but there's something that we want to focus on. And the first one being this, gentlemen, Matt Schaub. We already know that the SA's got a hit out on him. They're going to his house. They're burning his jerseys. I mean, he's stinking it up. It's just pathetic. It's deplorable. It's disgusting. And any other adjective you want to use. But the question is this. What do the Texans do in the grand scheme of things? Do you bench Schaub and try someone else, or do you let them try to work through it? What's the best move for the Texans to make so the team can succeed moving forward?
I'm judging by what they have on the bench. I just can't see a situation right now, this early in the season, where they hit the panic button and bench Schaub. I mean, I know T.J. Yates was the quarterback of record, 2 years ago when they went to the playoffs and actually won a playoff game against Cincinnati. But even in that little stretch, T.J. Yates really didn't do anything to impress me. Like, I didn't think, oh, man, they need to go to him now. When Schaub comes back, this should be this guy's job. I just didn't feel that way. So I think, even though Schaub is struggling, he has, four? Yeah. He has a pick six in the last 4 games and could have had 2 against the Niners if the ball wasn't bobbled up into the air.
Listen, man.
He's really struggling. I feel sorry for the guy.
In the words of Broadway Joe, he is struggling. Frank, what do you think about it, Frank?
That pick six streak is just as impressive as Peyton Manning, just like the other way. Like it's impressive to be that bad. But the only thing more deplorable than Matt Schaub are those fans showing up at his house. Like, get over it. It's just a game.
Yeah.
We love sports. Everybody here loves sports, but you guys don't get it. They don't get it.
T.J. Yates missed his opportunity to cash in. I look at him and I look at Matt Flynn and see how much Matt Flynn made for nothing. I said, T.J. should have cashed in. He should have cashed in.
That's the problem with that's the dilemma for Houston, is that their backup option is T.J. Yates, and like Devin said, he didn't really impress anybody. They kind of won in spite of him, during the playoffs. But I think you have to stick it out with Matt Schaub. I think that's the best chance you have to win, even though it's not a very good chance at this point.
All right, so my thing is, how long of a leash do you give him, though? Let's just say he throws a couple pick sixes this weekend. I mean, do you just ride the season out with him and then try to make a move? Or, how long of a leash do you give Matt Schaub at this point?
I think it's a situation, I think when his leash runs out, their season runs out. I mean, he may not have to quarterback the team for the rest of the season, but when they decide to make that move, it should basically be because, okay, we're done, Because, I mean, I just don't think T.J. Yates is a guy, he's your savior. He's the guy that's going to come in. But, hey, I mean, they may think they could coach him up to be that.
You never know. You never know until you try. Give him a chance. I mean, he can't do no worse.
Yeah, I think they should have made a run at Josh Freeman, personally. Might be time to give Brett Favre a call. See what he's doing.
No comment. I'm not even doing that because that'll make it a 2-hour video. Brett Favre is the most overrated. Anyway, listen. Speaking of quarterbacks, right? I know Dev did a video earlier this week talking about Tony Romo. And Dev, you can give us some of your opinions on Tony Romo and the game he had, and also the big mistake he made. Frank, but I'm gonna start with you, Frank. What do you think about this whole Tony Romo deal? Like, he had the game of his life. I mean, he was playing like he should have a seat at that table we always talk about. But in Tony Romo's fashion, he made the big mistake. It's sort of like shout out to @OJ Philly on Twitter. That's the homie. He made a comment during the game, and I was watching Twitter during the game. He said, if aliens came down and said, "Who is Tony Romo? Can you describe what he does?" You just show him a film of that game. Does everything right. It makes that one play. Frank, what do you think?
I think it's
about
completely overblown that all the critics he's getting for that game. I mean, your defense gave up 51 points. Like, just think about that for a second. You score 48 points in a game and you don't win. Like, how's that the quarterback's fault? Granted, it was a bad interception, but I mean, how can you fault him for how well he played, during the whole game? That being said, just as a Giant fan that's watched Cowboys for a long time, played against Cowboys for a long time, Tony Romo's never scared me. I don't ever go into a game thinking, oh my God, we got to play Tony Romo this week. Like, it's going to be crazy. Not like Peyton Manning, for example. So I think that's always the troubling part with Tony Romo. I always remember him for the field goal, the playoff field goal. That's the play I always think of when I think of Tony Romo. I think that's how he's going to go down.
Here's the crazy part. During that game, me and Dev were talking, and he was talking about how great he was playing. I was like,
every time I
the game in the fourth quarter. Yo, I just said it. But the funny thing, it's not that I have any kind of knowledge of seeing the future. I mean, I do, but not in reference to Tony Romo. But I say that every game, and if I just say it every game, a high percentage of the time I'll be right. Dev, what are some of the points that you made about Tony Romo?
Well, I co-sign with Frank on most of his earlier points, being as though I think he's taken a little bit too much heat for that. It was definitely, like you said, it was definitely a bad interception. But any team that scores 48 points, then most likely you're winning the game, and it might be a blowout. So if you let the other team score 51 points, it's just convenient for all of his critics just to point to that one play, because it really shouldn't have come down to that. I don't care if you're playing the Broncos who can score. I don't care who you're playing. Your defense has to show up to do something. If your quarterback is playing lights out and your offense scores 48 points. I always thought Tony Romo was a good quarterback, and being the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, first of all, if you're not a bandwagon Cowboys fan, then you most likely hate the Dallas Cowboys. So I think the quarterback of the Cowboys gets a different kind of scrutiny than everybody else. Being an Eagles fan, Frank, sometimes I am a little afraid when Romo comes to town, but I mean, I'm not going to defend him to the point and act like he doesn't make that big mistake, late in games often, because he does. But he has this thing where, a lot of lucky plays, like the ball will get snapped over his head, he'll turn around, 3 men on him, the ball will bounce right back into his hands, he makes somebody miss. Like, he does stuff like that sometimes that kind of scares me. But if you keep it close going into the fourth quarter, that's when you feel a little easier about the situation.
Tony Romo leads the league in fourth quarter interceptions when the game is within 7 points either way. And he's the league leader by far in that statistic. So I don't know, man.
He's the scapegoat, Jimmy, of a very overrated team throughout this past decade.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, and the other thing, just speaking of the game, it was a great play by the Denver linebacker. We shouldn't take that away from him. I mean, it was a diving catch. It's not like Tony Romo threw it right in his hands or anything. So, I mean, but it still was bad interception.
No.
But it's just because it's Tony Romo.
No Philadelphia Eagles linebacker would have caught that ball.
and the fact of the matter is, he just happens to throw more interceptions with the game being close in the fourth quarter than anyone. With that being said, here's my overall thought on the whole Tony Romo thing. Unless you have a Breeze, a Brady, a Manning, you really can't do any better than Tony Romo. Outside of the guys that sit at that table, as we say, like, you really can't do any better than Tony Romo. I mean, some may argue, Ben, Eli, and that could be argued. But even if I gave you those two, those are 5 quarterbacks with the top 3, you still can't really do any better than Tony Romo. So what you going to do if you're Dallas? You had to pay him, and that's your quarterback. You really can't get any better than Tony Romo without getting the guys I mentioned.
People always wonder why Jerry Jones paid him the way he did, but if you look at how much they actually put in this man's hands, if they're going to make you try to carry the team on your back, then they have to pay you like you're a guy that's trying to carry the team on your back. Whether or not he can do that, that's not our problem, but they paid him. And
I think it's official. 7 wins is going to win the NFC East. I think it's official.
Yeah, NFC ass is what I call it now.
7-9. 7-9 playoff.
I mean, and even with all the bad fourth quarter, he's still not as bad as Brett Favre. Anyway, let's move on. Speaking of the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry, or as we like to call him, Gerald Jones, made a comment that rubbed a lot of Cowboys fans the wrong way. Some of the fans it did rub the wrong way, even though it should have. He talked about his team having a moral victory. Like, they weren't losers in that game. They didn't feel like losers because of the way they played against the Broncos, and the Broncos were the prohibitive favorite. I don't know about that. Dev talked about it earlier this week, him and B. Austin, about how there's no such thing as moral victories in football. I agree wholeheartedly with that.
Not in professional football, at least.
I don't even think it is in Little League. You're still a damn loser if you lose. But I'm just saying, like, yo, seriously? The Cowboys of all teams?
I'm going to take the other side on that.
Go ahead, Frank.
I think there is such a thing as a moral victory. As a Giants fan, we won, in my opinion, we won a Super Bowl based on a moral victory against the Patriots in the last week of that 2009 season. I mean, in hindsight, I think if Bill Belichick sits his starters and, the Giants just win a game against the Patriots backups, they don't win that Super Bowl. So I think there is such a thing as a moral victory.
To me, that's not a moral victory. I understand what you mean in the grand scheme of things, how it helped the team.
Yeah.
That's not moral. That's not a moral victory. You still lost the game. I think
it is. Right.
And that's the same thing because
you still lost the game.
But I had a discussion with somebody who used that same example, and I lean more to the side of what Jimmy just said. I don't really look at that as a moral victory for the Giants. The Giants went all out, tried to win that game, and they lost. They still lost. They just happened to come back and beat the Patriots when it counted. So they didn't need moral victories because they got the real victory when it counted. But
they got in my opinion, they got that real victory because of the earlier matchup. The moral victory.
What it is for me, Frank, is terminology. I would, if I'm Jerry Jones and if I'm a Giants fan talking about that Patriots thing, I would call it a confidence builder. You know what I'm saying? I know that I can play with these guys type thing. But moral victories, that just sounds soft.
No, even if you just say something like, I'm proud of the way the guys played, we gave it our all, but the whole thing of a moral victory.
Well, I'm just talking about in general. That game between Denver and Dallas, I don't think that's a moral victory. You gave up 51 points. There's no moral victories in giving up 51 points.
Yo, I say we just killed the whole concept of a moral victory. There's no such thing. I mean,
just go get a victory.
Yeah, just go get a victory. What the hell is a moral victory? That's like almost being pregnant.
Your defense makes Denver punt one time.
Yeah.
And you probably win that game.
I disagree with Jerry Jones's saying this is a moral victory, but I think there is such a thing as a moral victory, is what I'm saying.
Because as the shootout was going back and forth, Peyton tried to give the game away with that interception.
He did. I was all ready to snap. I was getting ready to snap. I'm like, oh, here we go.
I was waiting for Jimmy.
I'm like, here we go,
something.
man. This move. Anyway, listen.
I think Peyton's strategy was just to give the ball back to Romo. Peyton was like, if I give the ball to Romo, he's gonna choke it away. So I don't even want to do anything.
Peyton's interception was like a punt. Romo's he gave it to him like field goal range. You're already in it. Like, here you go. Win the game. I'm tired. My arm hurts.
It's just like, yo, you could just see it coming a mile away. Like when Dallas played Washington last year and played them tough that game, and he threw that interception. It's like, as soon as I try to defend this guy, and everybody's telling me how he's gonna ruin the game, he goes and he does it. It's like, yo, it's hard. Tony Romo is hard to defend at times. You know?
I don't like the Cowboys. I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, and I don't necessarily have any reason to defend Tony Romo. It kind of irks me when people try to make it out like he's garbage.
No, he's not garbage.
I'll give you choke, not clutch, but the dude's not garbage, and a lot of people go around trying to act like he's garbage. That's when you kind of got to draw the line between.
I think he's an above-average quarterback, but I don't think he can be the best player on your team, which is the Cowboys' problem. Is that Tony Romo? I'd probably say DeMarcus Ware is the best player on that team, but he's definitely the best offensive player. I'm not a big Des Bryant guy personally.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Des Bryant's the beast.
What is there not to like about Des Bryant? Pause that, please.
I don't like his attitude on the field. I think he is inconsistent. I don't think he runs every route the way he should run every route. I think there's times you can see Des Bryant pulling a little, TO where he gives up on routes, gives up on a play.
I'll give you that last season, but the way he's playing the first 5 games of this season, I don't know. I see a change.
I don't think Des Bryant is the smartest football player in the world, and that's what's scary about it. Because if Des Bryant gets the mental part of the game down, like, oh my God, how much scarier is he going to be?
Yeah, but I think what you're saying, Jimmy, is he's playing well now because they're in first. I think when he's in first place, but what happens when you go through a little adversity? Is he going to be the type of player that doesn't run as hard?
Hold up, they're in first place at 2-3 though.
First place is first place.
Nobody in the NFC East should say anything about first place until they get over 500. We should make that a rule because there's a lot of people going around bragging, "Oh, we're in first place." Eagles fans included. Y'all stupid.
But that's the part that scares me about Des Bryant is what I'm saying. When you're down, when you need guys to, try as hard as they can because you're going through some adversity, is he the kind of guy that doesn't run as hard because of that?
I mean, Wow.
We shall see.
Some said that about Randy Moss and T.O., and they may be the two best receivers in the last 10 years. Anyway, with that being said, man, let's talk about 3 big games this week. For the rest of our picks, you can just look in the description box. We'll put our picks for every game this week. But there are a couple of games I just want to really, ask you guys about. That's Green Bay at Baltimore. What do you guys think about that game?
I'm going to go on the other side. I rarely pick against Green Bay. But I'm going to go with Baltimore at home with this one because I think something clicked in the Ravens coaching staff yesterday because we have seen the past season and a half or so, they were obviously trying to make this Joe Flacco's team. You have one of the most versatile running backs in the league and Ray Rice behind him, and they kind of started to go away from Ray Rice. Last week, he got about 27 touches in the running game alone, and he always catches passes out of the backfield. 2 touchdowns. He didn't get a lot of rushing yards, but just having Ray Rice involved that much in the game gives you an advantage. And I think, unless they're stubborn like Andy Reid was in Philly, I think they saw that just like, anybody with eyes saw that. So I think they're going to make Ray Rice a big part of the offense from here on out. And I'm going to go with Baltimore at home against Green Bay.
Frank.
Mm-hmm.
I have Green Bay. Honestly, the reason why I picked Green Bay is I have no idea what to make of Baltimore. Like, they just confuse me because, like Dev said, they find out Ray Rice. I mean, they know what they have in Ray Rice. He's Ray Rice. It's not like he just transformed into this player that we saw last week. He's been that player, but they don't utilize him all the time. So, is it going to be like you said, where they give Ray Rice 25 touches a game, or is he going to get 10 touches this week and then 20 touches next week? So I don't know what to make of them. I think Green Bay is desperate. They're playing with that desperate edge. I think you saw that against Detroit, and I think they're going to pull it out.
Yo, pause. Here's my thing. I'm going kind of with the Frank logic. I picked Green Bay as well. First of all, I don't like picking against Aaron Rodgers. That's one.
Me either.
And two, I agree wholeheartedly. Baltimore has this thing where they'll play one game and give Ray Rice the ball, and you're like, finally.
Right.
Next game, Ray Rice won't touch the ball. So until they show me otherwise and have a couple consistent weeks of feeding him the rock, I'm going to take Green Bay and say that Ray Rice won't even get 25 touches this game. So I'm going with Green Bay. The next game is the Saints and Patriots playing the game, and this is a big game. I mean, we have two of the 3 guys we say are at the table in Drew Brees and Tom Brady. Drew Brees, his tight end, Jimmy Graham is playing out of his mind.
Ridiculous.
Tom Brady's receivers are not playing out of their mind. I feel so good. I watch the games and I'm like, yo, some of the drops he has, and just the guy's inability to get open is ridiculous. So for me, I'm taking the Saints because although, I mean, you got a 5-0 team and a 4-1 team. I don't even know how New England is 4-1. I mean, how are they 4-1 with this?
That schedule, that's how. You see the teams they played?
This is true. This is true.
Though the Jets seem like a better win now than they did a few weeks ago.
Yeah, but still, you're right.
I don't believe them. They still need more people.
They need more people. But that's the one thing we say about New England every year lately is look at their division. Because 2 of those wins came against Buffalo and the Jets, which are their division, right? So
right, and then they have a win against Tampa Bay. I can't remember their 4th one, but
so
it's bad
it is what it is, man. I'm gonna go with the Saints and Drew Brees because they're playing better football now, man.
A bad team.
So what you got to say about this game, Frank? About the Saints in New England?
I also have the Saints. I've said this every week on the show, basically. I think New Orleans and Drew Brees are going to run through the NFC. I think they're going to be the 1 seed. Now that both San Francisco and Seattle look a little vulnerable, I think New Orleans this is just going to be another notch on the belt. Tom Brady's got to look around like, what's your name again? Do I know you? Oh, you catch passes? I didn't see it on the
field. Dad, what you think?
Speaking of Tom Brady and his receivers, he's supposed to get Gronk back this week. So expect Gronk to get hurt again because Tom Brady will force like 65 passes.
No doubt.
I don't want to just jump on the Saints, because it seems like it's the popular thing to do right now. They do it.
I'm the co-pilot of the bandwagon. I'm like the passenger.
Competition. Yeah, like in the people in the NFC they're not looking too great right now, so it does look like it's their conference to lose. I kind of this was a match because the only reason I'm going to pick the Saints, like Jimmy said, we don't know how the Patriots are 4-1 in the first place, besides their schedule, their quarterback, maybe their coach. But this would be a real test for them if they can pull this one out. But I'm going to go with the Saints on this one.
Yeah, there's still room on the bandwagon if you want in.
I actually was on the Saints bandwagon coming into the season. I picked them to win the division. You can go back and check, my predictions out. But I was on the Saints bandwagon early because, they get their coach back, a whole new defense, and Anyway, with that being said, man, here's the last game I want to talk about. Monday night game.
Throw Marcus Colston the ball.
Monday night game. We got Indy at San Diego. Dev's fantasy quarterback and Phillip Rivers versus the quarterback he traded for Phillip Rivers and Andrew Luck. So let's see how this works out for you. But
I didn't actually trade him for Phillip Rivers. I traded him after I got Phillip Rivers.
Oh, okay. So
I guess that same
kicked
same
him to the curb. You kicked him to the curb because you got Phillip Rivers, basically.
Yeah, you had a new shiny toy, so you told Andrew Luck.
You basically just took a poop on him and said, "I'm going with Phillip Rivers." I got you. But
I got a new.
I feel bad because Andrew Luck is my favorite quarterback in the league in Rick.
So I'm personally going with Indy in this game. San Diego, I'm still not a complete believer yet. They have, Broncos gang. They have our old coach. They look a lot better this season. They're coming off a loss to the Raiders. That's right, the Raiders. In Indianapolis, man, their defense is playing well on the low. Like, of course, they'll never get credit because of Andrew Luck. Now Trent Richardson in the offense. But when you watch them play, their defense gives a hellified effort.
Trent ain't doing shit.
So, what'd you say?
I said Trent ain't doing much of nothing. But
Trent ain't
no, the defense always comes up. They always come up with a big turnover at the end of the game.
Always. So I'm going with Indy in this game. And what you guys think about this game?
Well, I'm gonna go with Indy as well, basically because throughout the years, like I've always, for some reason, had this blind faith in San Diego. They showed me something last week against the Raiders, and it wasn't something good. So I'm gonna take Indy in this game as well.
I'm not completely off the Chargers bandwagon yet. I was. I didn't think they were going to be good coming into the season, but they've impressed me so far. I think that game in Oakland is just a weird game. Like the late start, it's very uncommon. I just think they couldn't get up for it because, you were banking on playing earlier in the day, and then you got to just readjust your whole schedule. I think that was a big factor. But I think San Diego will get up for this game on Monday night, and I think Indy will come back to earth a little bit.
Now, how good of a game do you think Manti Te'o will have?
Is he going to be there, or is he going to be with his girlfriend?
Well, Raiders fans had a funeral for him.
Yeah, no, more or less. So
I'm still a little bit on the Charger bandwagon, Frank, and I don't fully believe in Indianapolis. So this one's kind of difficult for me, but yeah.
I'm taking Andrew Luck in the prime time. That's all. I think Phillip Rivers. I don't know, man. It's crazy because of course they're playing better, but those last couple seasons still ringing in my head. Like, oh, here he goes again, being Phillip Rivers.
I still need Andrew Luck to get off this game because the more he gets off and scores, the more Phillip Rivers I have to pass. So go get him, Drew.
That's one way to look at it. You want a shootout. It is what it is.
It is very possible that Phillip Rivers is marked out in prime time.
Yeah, he definitely could be marked out in prime time, man. That could be the situation, man. With that being said, for the rest of our picks of these games, like I said, check the description box. They will be there. Other than that, gentlemen, I'm just looking forward to another great week of football. Let's see what happens in the NFC ass after this week because you have a couple games where the teams play each other and whatnot. Frank, before we get out of here, how can people, read what's going on and see what's up with the Sports Kings?
Oh, man, it's very easy. Hit Sports-Kings. Don't forget the dash. Sports-Kings.com. We got around the rink hockey. We do everything. We got past the pill basketball, down and distance football, reading between the scenes baseball. We got New York and D.C. local sites. So check us out.
Absolutely. And we're all War Room Sports everywhere. Just look up War Room Sports. Or look in your mom's closet. You'll find us. That being said, listen, everybody. Don't forget. When you watch this video, share it with your friends so we can start some arguments because that's what we do. Hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to everybody in the beer gang out there. This is War Room Sports. As we always say, don't accept mediocrity. and be steadfast in the war against ignorance. We'll see you chumps on top.
Kuwait, it's the war room with 5